Hey, what's up guys? Guess what we saw at the PlayStation showcase earlier? We got the first actual trailer for Dragon Dogma 2, and it looks amazing. It actually looks a lot like the first one, very similar, same sort of like visual design, if you may. But let's just watch it real quick. I'm gonna comment on it, and then we're gonna slow it down afterward and notice the details.
Then have you forgotten that you protected me from the dragon's flames?
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
Of course, that begs the question. If he's a mere mummer, then where might our true Arisen?
Empress Nadinia's life is in your hands, Sir Arisen.
Praise be, for only the Sovereign's guidance can lead us true. Long live the Sovereign #1!
Man, this brings back memories. I love this game. I love the first one. Nice. For those who have not played it, you need to play Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen.
That is most unfortunate, but it doth not release thee from thy fate.
It is, the first Dragon's Dogma is available on newer gen hardware. So let's check it out. Let's take a look at everything they showcased in that trailer. I like that Capcom released a trailer like this at 60 FPS, because the original announcement on the PlayStation showcase was, 30 FPS because it was streamed. But we get to take a look here at the initial sequence. One thing I noticed right away in the initial sequence, and sorry, that's not necessarily a good thing, but I noticed that the draw distance here, because I'm modding Skyrim these days, and the draw distance, one of the most annoying things with Skyrim is that your grass like cuts off. Like grass cuts off at a distance, and you can really notice it. Like there's some significant like pop in with the grass and color discoloration, and you notice it with the vegetation. So when you're playing Skyrim, there's a lot of pop in, and there's ways to work around it with mods and so forth, but it's something that I always found annoying. So I just want to point out that in this trailer, you can clearly see that the draw distance, the distance where the level of detail significantly decreased, is significant here. Like this is not a very big draw distance. So I just wanted to point that out because this is something that I noticed right away in this trailer. Now let's get to the more positive stuff. Being made by Capcom is always a positive. I love the look of the armors in this game. Like everything about Dragon's Dogma, like the design for everything, the world, the cities, the characters, the armor, it's all so beautiful. I just love this style, and there's like some very specific signature for the entire world, and just the vegetation and everything, like the pale rocks and all. I just really love it. Honestly, it looks very similar to the first one. Somebody in chat earlier told me that they thought this might actually be a remake of the original one, which I don't think it is the case, but it's still interesting to notice how close Dragon's Dogma 2 looks to the original one. Just skip that real quick. We get to take a look at the MC, I believe. I believe that's the main character. So they showcase a female character. It looks pretty good, honestly, like good looking character. It looks like the animation for the facial animation looks good. I love that we still get kind of like, the same feel, same vibe for the dragon and maybe even the storyline. One thing that I've always liked about the initial Dragon's Dogma was actually the story. I thought the story in the Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen and the original one, I thought the story was very interesting. It definitely got me hooked. Combat is another thing that's a big positive for Dragon's Dogma. Combat is not necessarily all positive, but one of the big feature and one of the big distinction that Dragon's Dogma has over a game like Dark Souls, because Dragon's Dogma is not a Souls-like, one of the big distinction that it has is really the climbing mechanic and how important climbing is and how fluid it is when you're fighting against various monsters. You cannot climb on small monsters, but anything just slightly bigger than you, like this enemy for instance, you would be able to climb on its back, avoid the attack, then climb on its back, climb on his belly, and do some critical damage. And I always thought that was like really interesting and really engaging to be able to fight in this way, in this fashion, being able to climb on the enemy. I remember clearly, like, one of the best memories I have in gaming was the first time ever I got to fight a griffin in Dragon's Dogma. We actually see one of them in the trailer. The first time that you get to fight a griffin, the griffin just flies off into the air, and you're kind of holding on for your life, climbing on top of it, and you're trying to damage it and kill it, because if you don't kill it, it just keeps flying and flying, and eventually, you know, you run out of stamina. You have to let go, and then if you let go, well, you're so high up in the air that if you fall, you die. So it makes for some amazing gameplay sequence, and we're gonna get to see in that trailer this similar gameplay sequence as I just described. But this was one of the best moments that I had in the initial Dragon's Dogma. I love the look of the cities as well. We get a little glimpse of it. And then the OG dragon. I like how they made the dragon in Dragon's Dogma. The dragon is a pretty mean creature. And they really did it well. Oh, here you go. This is the part I'm talking about. Like, this particular shot here is a classic, and this is one of the things that makes Dragon's Dogma so good gameplay wise. Now, when it comes to other part of the gameplay, I remember I played Dragon's Dogma with my initial run. I played with the great swords. After that, I played with the warrior shield. I played Mystic Knight. I played a little bit of mage. I played a little bit of magic archer. And I can tell you for sure that playing with magic archer, playing with Mystic Knight, playing with mage, it's very easy. The initial Dragon's Dogma was kind of poorly balanced damage wise. Like, you could really mop everything in the game if you had a proper build. Like, you could one shot a lot of the smaller bosses, whereas if you did not necessarily know what you were doing, you could be doing like a lot less damage, and so little sometimes that your attacks would be ineffective. So there was like a big gap between like how good a character could be versus how you know, how you were speccing your character. But I hope that's one of the things that I want to see improved in the Dragon's Dogma 2 is how much damage you do overall, and how is the difficulty of the game. Because initially in the first Dragon's Dogma, the difficulty can be extremely high if your character is specced out like wrong. Like, if you don't really know what you're doing, you're new to it, you can be left in situations where you need to hit an enemy like dozens and dozens of times, where you could have the opposite, where you just need to hit a boss like 2 times with some specific like a magic archer attack, and then it's over. So this is one area I want to see improve on. As far as the gameplay is concerned, this seems to be very similar to what we had in the first one, which is not necessarily a bad thing, although people who are used to Souls games are going to be, you know, faced with something different. This is not a Souls game, doesn't necessarily play like a Souls game, but, you know, it is a hack and slash game. Combat is pretty good. Like I said, I think the most fun that there is in this game is going melee and then utilizing a lot of the climbing mechanics. But to each his own, you guys can play whatever you want, you know, it's up to you. One thing that's also really good, again, is the story. Story is amazing in Dragon's Dogma. The character customization is also amazing. Now, in the official website, it should be noted that this game is qualified as a single-player game, so you could see the positive and the negative. The positive is there's likely going to be, you know, a fair amount of mods for this game, I believe. I think it's fair to say that there's going to be a decent amount of mods, especially if the game is single player only. So we can look forward to some nice mods for Dragon's Dogma. I know the original had a few good ones as well. Now, I don't know about the pawn system. I've not read anything about that, but in the original you had a pawn system that kind of replaced multiplayer. But personally, I would really like if Dragon's Dogma 2 brought some co-op. Personally, I think this type of game would lend very well to co-op if it was a thing, you know, maybe even in a DLC or something, for some dungeons, you know, anything really. I think that would be a great idea. But either way, that's pretty much all I had to say for Dragon's Dogma 2. I am very excited for this game. You know, I love Dragon's Dogma 2. I think there's a lot of people that are looking forward to it, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. It looks pretty great. So yeah, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this quick breakdown and analysis of Dragon's Dogma 2. And I'll catch you guys up next time. Take it easy, everyone.